I will start by my confession, which is I really dreamed of being Eloise. And I finally found my tribe. I'm as close to being Eloise as I will ever be. So thank you all. So people keep saying, why are you here? Why are you here? And I know why I'm here, but let me try to explain to you why I think I'm here. I went on a journey 11 years ago. I'd been a print journalist at the New York Times, male dominated. I saw firsthand how international news was being reported, very often by a man who would fly into a country for which they had no language or cultural sensitivity. They would spend a night or two, maybe, and something would appear on the front page of the New York Times the next day. And if it was lucky, it was superficial, and if we were unlucky, it was wrong. And it gave me a deep, I've learned a lot these last 2 days that have been so intense. It made me angry, and it made me search for a way to solve that problem. Fast forward a little bit, I spent a year as a Luce scholar in South Korea. I was told by the one South Korean representative in the room that I'm more Korean than she was, which is not true, because my Korean's almost as bad as my Portuguese. Spent 2 years in Korea and realized that if you live in another culture and bring it back, you haven't only enriched yourself, you've actually brought something back that you can share with your friends and your family and your cohort. As you guys well know, travel is the ultimate reward to living a full life. My kids then, who were then very small, who are now very tall and very grown up, were going to this fancy progressive school in New York called Dalton. And they spent a lot of time talking about equity and talking about global citizenry, and they talked a lot about community service. And this was my final, oh, I am so pissed off with the way people have framed all these issues that I needed to jump into the deep end and do something, which I'll get to in a moment. Community service went a little bit like this. All the rich kids got an opportunity to go to Fiji or Costa Rica for 2 weeks over spring break. And sorry if I offend anybody, but that's my way. The 2 weeks would go along something like you get almost 2 weeks to learn how to scuba dive. And on the last day, in the afternoon, the kids were invited to paint a poor person's house. And the fundamental indignity of having the people who we'd chosen to educate our own kids and the future generation of this paternalistic, colonial, truly disgusting idea of how to be in service of a greater good was appalling. So I left my job at the New York Times. I had started a documentary film festival that I'm very proud of. I'm not an educator. I'm a storyteller. I grew up in a family of storytellers. And the best I could do was to sit with, ironically, a Portuguese friend of mine and say, if you were to empower, one last anecdote. My husband and I went to a dinner party, and I'd been a journalist at the New York Times, and I had wonderful, intelligent friends. And the dinner party was a bunch of people bragging about their accomplishments. Somebody had gotten the Pulitzer Prize, somebody was up for a Nobel Peace Prize. It was, the bragging hit me as, insecure if you're enlightened-ish, and boring if you're not. And I went home that night, and my daughters are wonderful. They're not particularly brilliant, but I sat on the floor with them and listened to their observations of what had happened that day to them, to their friends. And excuse my French, but kids have no room for bullshit, and they sniff it out. So they would have gone to that dinner party and packed up their stuff and gone home to do their homework. I wasn't smart enough. But there was this revelation sitting on the floor of our West End apartment that put all these pieces together. And it's like this. The global news business is shrinking. We as a democracy who have relied on good information of many things so that we can be an informed citizenry was at risk. the adults in charge were not doing a particularly good job flying into Korea and out the next day. And the kids' perspective on all of what was happening in the world was so potent and so authentic and so real. So to sit for 2 days and have this be about finding joy and finding our inner child, I just said, who said it today? Like, let's cut to what we want at the end, right? I want the kids to tell me the stories. It's just real. So 11 years ago, we started BYkid. A little bit like, I'm not an entrepreneur. I'd always worked in a big company with the IT department. I didn't know how to start a nonprofit. I didn't know what that looked like. I am a journalist, so I can ask questions of smart people, and somehow miraculously, each time there was a door pushed lightly and it swung open and possibilities happen. And we're now at the point with BYkid that we're now starting our third season of a series of 30-minute documentary films made by young children around the world telling their own story by being given a camera and a world-class filmmaker of note who goes for a month to work with the child to help them tell their own stories. So at its heart, it's strengthening democracy because we all need to hear these international stories. It's giving voice to the voiceless. These are communities that very often are not heard from. And it's giving voice to the people who have the potent solutions to all of our problems. And if we did, unlike I grew up in a pretty traditional family in some ways. They used to, did anybody have this? They'd say, children should be seen and not heard. And I was like, well, I don't want to be seen, but I definitely want to be heard. So we've shaken it all up. We're now, as I say, we're in 84 million households through our partnership with public television in America. We are in half the middle schools and high schools, not just with a 30-minute film, but a curriculum. And to give you a sense of what these films are like, we've done 9 films. We're now embarking on 5 new ones. They're films that we start with a global theme. So I'm going to show you a teaser, a teeny little bit of the 30 minutes of a film made by a Syrian refugee who's now living in Berlin. We've done a film made by the would-be king of Tibet. We've made a film done by a 12-year-old girl in Nicaragua whose family has been, the coffee growing culture that her family is part of has been ravaged by climate change. They know more about climate change in this tiny rural village in Nicaragua that we all know about in this room, maybe. We've made a film made by a young girl in India who's a tribal. I learned in my bad Greenwich High School curriculum that there are Brahmins and untouchables. And in a kind of random conversation once, I heard that there were 80 million tribal people who are kept basically in a state of servitude. They're illiterate. And we found one of the 80 million young girls who has fought to be educated. So, and really to give a broad stroke, we each season have one American film. I very much wanted, as somebody said earlier in our amazing journey together, slavery is a major problem in America, and we've never reckoned with that problem. And I wanted to access that. So I sat with the board and said, I want to get at what it means to be black and young and poor in America, and gotten caught up in the juvenile justice system. So we have a boy named Mike Martin. I just got an email that we've gotten the film into the Harlem Film Festival. Mike, you know, as I also, pardon my French, it's been long and I don't speak Portuguese. This kid was born in Harlem, poor and black. And as I say, and he laughs with me sometimes, he was screwed from the beginning. He was screwed before birth. And what he's had to travel and his ability to bring us into his world, we meet his grandmother, who I told, where are you? Where's the red dress contingent? Anyway, the grandma in this film is just remarkable. You know, we're trying to allow people in a very fundamental way that may resonate with you. We're trying to give people all over the world of all incomes who maybe can't come to this conference, who can't go to the Amman Resort, who want to experience a larger world or maybe don't even think they want to but need to. We want to give them a truly democratic, free way of experiencing the world. And when, as my friend Edmund Moulet, who runs peacekeeping for the UN, says, if you allow enough people to sit in the darkness alone and let down their guard, so, you know, like, I wouldn't stop a kid on the streets of Harlem and say, hey, Mike, what's your story? Like, it looks like you just came back from Rikers. Could you tell me about it, how you feel? I might not have the tools to do that. In the dark, in those 30 minutes where you're in the child's home eating dinner with them. Anyway, we're very proud of where we've come. I think, you know, the relationships I've made here have been extraordinary with you global wanderers, and it's a new tribe, and Eloise rocks, and I'm glad I kept that dream alive. I thank Anne and Elizabeth and this amazing team, the tech guys who are keeping this real. I'm going to show you, as I say, just a very short little bit about our work and about the piece from the Syrian film. I will tease you if anybody has ideas for other films that we can do. Season 3, we have a film that's been shot in Bhutan about the effect of television and the internet on their culture and the fact that they're losing it and they're not actually as happy as the index purports them to be. We have a film, I can't remember, I'm so wiped out. We have a film being done by a young boy in Germany talking about resurgent Jewish life there. We have a film done by a 12-year-old girl in New York who has cerebral palsy and is talking about disability. You know, I often look for the kind of conversation that would feel uncomfortable, and I'm not quite, you know, I'm not shy, but don't quite have the ability to lean into. Those are the kind of problems we're trying to give kids the ability and the muscles to be able to talk through. We're doing a film by a Native American girl who talks about mental health and addiction on the reservation. And it looks like we're gonna, I say we're gonna do sex trafficking in either the Philippines or Vietnam. But at our heart, we're about allowing you to walk a mile in somebody else's shoes so that when the lights come up, you are friends and you won't kill each other and you might actually work toward meaningful solutions. So I'm gonna show you this 3.5-minute thing, and then we have the amazing privilege of 4 brand new Portuguese friends of mine that were willing to run away from school and come join us, and I'm going to have a little conversation with them about the state of affairs. So thank you all.
Let me tell you my story. It's the story of my life, and I know it well.
I would like you to know it too. My story is perhaps not so different from yours.
Maybe we're very similar, you and I. Maybe by hearing my story, you will recognize yourself or someone you know.
Maybe by hearing my story, you will see my world, and all the distance between you and me will disappear.
For a few minutes, I can tell you about where I live, what I do, what I know.
And one day, many years from now, you may recognize me in a crowded room, and we can say hello.
Or maybe we are quite different, you and I. That's okay too.
Maybe by watching my story, you will learn something you didn't know.
To tell my story, I had to learn something new.
To speak a new language. It is the language of the eyes and of the heart.
Someone helped me learn this language, and now I can speak to you.
What I like about this language is that everyone can understand it.
It speaks in colors.
It speaks in images.
Sometimes it even speaks in silence.
My story may not change the world,
but my story might change your world.
And maybe you will tell one of your friends about me.
And your friend will tell his friend. And then it will be like we all know each other.
So, come and hear my story.
See my story.
See the world through my eyes.
Hi, I'm Muhammad Shasho. I'm 17 years old. I'm a refugee from Aleppo, Syria, and here's my video journal.
I want to talk about the day I left Syria and never came back. We took everything with us, even though they said it was just 1 month. But that one month didn't end.
My father went to Greece by a boat and then on to Germany. He knew that the trip was too dangerous for the whole family, so he went ahead by himself.
Germany is the new start, the new beginning, my new life.
I can't explain how much I respect the German society, like, especially in Berlin. It's obvious that this happened to destroy our image.
I lost my home, I lost my country. This old, safe, very good life is lost. But I got motivation to get everything right after this war ends. My dream is to be a doctor. I want to study at Harvard. After, when I build myself, I want to go back to Syria and start building it. And that's my dream.
All right, I would like to invite our amazing guests, Kamaya, who's 10. I'd like you to come up and join us. Mia, who's 8. Mathilde, who's 9. And Mafalda, who's 7. And Bruno's going to come and translate, although I think these guys speak pretty amazing English. So thank you all for joining me. I know we didn't ask you to play hooky, so thank you for rushing over, though, after school. I'd love to start. I told you all that we have spent the last 2 days really talking a lot about how to find joy and how to reimagine the inner child. So I'd like to ask you each what you do for fun.
I like dance. I like horse. I like very swim, and I like very go go to the planet at the voyage with planet.
The plants? Plants?
No, planet.
Planets. Oh, the
Yes.
What do you call that? The planetarium?
Yes.
Wow. Does everybody like to dance? Do you like to dance? Yes, okay.
I like to be and imagine things and be a little bit in my world. And I love to draw things and dance and also riding horses.
Eu gosto de brincar com os meus amigos e gostava de repetir esta experiência.
She said she'd like to play with friends and she would like to repeat this experience again. She likes very much horses, gymnastics, and to have friends.
Aww. Okay, this is a little harder. What one thing do adults do wrong when it comes to fixing problems?
os adultos, por vezes, quando estão muito chateados, eles podem fazer conflitos e criar outros problemas. Porque eles deviam ter mais calma nos problemas, porque cada vez que têm mais calma, irão conseguir resolver vários problemas, porque não é à pressa, tem de fazer com calma. E assim, fazendo com calma, não haverá conflitos no mundo.
Okay, I don't know if any of you understood, but Mia said in the general that adults should have more calm, because that's the way to take over on conflicts, so the conflicts don't prosper. So basically, all adults need to be calm and talk to each other calmly. Correct?
Eu acho que os adultos deviam melhorar porque a poluição está a estragar o nosso planeta Terra, que é o único sítio onde nós conhecemos para viver.
This is strong. They say that adults are polluting the world, and that's the only place that we know in the universe that we can live.
Eu acho que os adultos, também como a Mia disse, deviam ter mais calma e não destruir tanto o nosso planeta, porque eles não se importam com os outros, pensam neles e pensam, se nós fizermos isso ao planeta vai destruir, mas daqui a mais uns anos não vou ser eu que vou estar a viver neste planeta, então não faz mal se eu destruir.
Okay. Kamaya says she agrees with Mia, and that adults are jeopardizing the future of the planet because of the conflicts, but the majority because in general they are selfish.
Eu acho que os adultos deviam melhorar para não criarem conflitos.
She says that adults should improve themselves in order to generate less conflicts.
You guys are too much. I told you. Just have to stop and listen. I was going to ask you what 3 things you wish could be different about the world, but let's ask each of you what one thing do you wish was different about the world?
Eu gostava que as pessoas não comessem tanta carne, porque ao estarem a comer tanta carne, estão a destruir florestas inteiras e outros sítios para porem animais a pastar. E estão a destruir o nosso planeta Terra ao destruírem as árvores e as florestas.
She said that the world should produce and eat less meat because we are destroying the forests all over the world.
Wow.
Eu gostava que as pessoas mudassem as atitudes, que começassem a pensar que quando fazem poluição, que podem fazer incêndios nas florestas e a destruí-las, porque assim há menos animais, porque eles precisam das florestas para viverem, e vai começar a haver pouca comida para nós.
Adults should behave consciously, so they need to protect more the forests that don't have that much fire, because those fire destruct not only the forests but also the animals that prosper on those environments.
Eu acho só por as pessoas serem diferentes no mundo ou terem uma pele de cor diferente, não são diferentes, são iguais. Porque umas pessoas são mais brancas, outras mais morenas, são iguais a nós. A pele é que muda. A África é diferente, a pele pode ser diferente, mas continuam a ser pessoas à mesma. Porque algumas pessoas pensam que eles são monstros por causa só da pele, mas não são. Eles ainda são humanos e ainda são uma coisa especial no mundo. Também nós precisamos de humanos diferentes.
I will try to resume. All humans are the same. So basically, there are no colors, no races. All humans in the world should be and work as the same, because every human being is unique. But in general, we are all the same.
Eu acho que as pessoas não deviam deitar tanto lixo para o mar e depois os animais marinhos comem e morrem. E eu não gosto disso.
Okay, she doesn't like what is happening with the sea, because there's so much pollution that the seafood and the animals on the sea cannot live anymore with quality of life, and that's all because of us.
Wow, I don't really know what to ask. I would, because we've talked a lot about how if you imagine a future, it actually becomes true, what your dream for the future is, both for yourself and all of us.
Eu acho que para todas as pessoas que houvesse, que parasse mais a poluição e que as pessoas sejam mais amigáveis e que não façam mal umas às outras, para elas serem mais amigáveis, e que assim o mundo pode ter paz e pessoas podem estar de um lado e do outro, mas se pelo menos juntarem as duas ideias, pelo menos acho que alguma coisa diferente iria ser no mundo, e aí poderia fazer uma coisa nova no mundo que nunca poderia ter existido.
I usually use short sentences because in Portuguese we say a lot of words, okay? Don't worry. So basically, she says that people should be friendly, that the friendliness that people should prosper in each one of us can generate new and bigger ideas, so we can stop polluting the world in general with conflicts and even with pollution in the ocean, nature, and whatsoever.
Para o futuro do nosso planeta, eu gostava que todos nós parássemos e pensássemos no que podíamos mudar. E eu costumo fazer isso. E eu acho que nós devíamos parar com a poluição e que devíamos pensar como é que o futuro da nossa família vai ser se isto continuar.
Okay. She says that she thinks that a lot on what she wants for the future, that we all should do that often and think of our family, what we want for our family in the future, so we can stop. One of the things that she mentioned was the pollution.
Eu acho que todas as pessoas devem ser felizes, tal como eu, e fiquem em paz. E eu acho que vocês também querem isso para a vossa vida.
That's short and strong. She just wants to be happy, and she wants everybody to be happy and think on the peace of world, so everybody can be happy all over the world.
Eu também gostava que toda a gente fosse feliz e também que houvesse menos poluição e que houvesse mais carros elétricos para poluir menos o planeta. E todos pensarmos o que é que podemos mudar, porque senão no futuro o planeta pode se destruir.
Okay, she decides that everybody, each one of you and all the people on the planet should be more happy, that there are more electric cars, that we stop polluting more and more each day, because they need the world for the future.
Should we maybe, does anybody have an inspired question for our little gurus here? Who hold the answers to all of our problems in their hands? I mean, I will say from just watching this, I get very verklempt. You know, we're all different religions, different gender, different colors, different geography. The one thing we all have in common, we were all kids before. I told them, I said, you know, everybody always says, I want to grow up so fast. Somebody here said, I don't want to grow up. We don't want to grow up either, but it's too late. But I think you're, just so you know, and however much you can understand Brunok, and it's really miraculous to be able to listen to you and hear how simply you make big problems. It's just beautiful, and it's a true gift to us. So thank you. Is there anybody, Anne, you should have the last word. Do you have a question for them? Adam.
Eu acho que os adultos deviam ter mais imaginação e ligar mais às crianças quando elas dizem alguma coisa que elas acham e da imaginação delas, e eles dizem que não existe magia ou não existe essas coisas.
Okay. She said that we lack of imagination, and that we should hear them more often, because because not all the time it's their imagination, because their imagination is creativity and their voice for the world.
She said something very important. We should not forget there is magic.
He's a sorcerer. He's a magician.
Yes, there is a lack of magic, so blame the translation, please. There is, and Mr. Wizard over there, so that's the key word. That. Thank you for reminding.
Eu acho que os adultos estão bons assim, mas deviam ligar mais às crianças, como já disseram.
She said that the adults should take more often hears on kids. But yeah, that's to pay more attention to the kids.
We promise.
Right on.
Eu acho que os adultos, por vezes, podem ter conflitos nos trabalhos e, por vezes, gritarem com as crianças. E eu acho que deviam ter mais calma, porque as crianças ainda podem não estar no nível dos adultos para como eles têm o seu problema. As crianças não têm de levar com o problema em cima. A culpa não é nossa, são deles. Eu acho que deviam melhorar isso.
Okay. She said that parents and adults in general should have less stress during the day, and especially when they arrive home, so they can listen more to the kids, pay more attention, and not to load them with their problems. So basically they feel that energy.
Well, I think that is miraculous end to our spectacular 2 days. You guys are the cherry on the top of the ice cream sundae. So thank you so much from all of us. So good.